Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. I know you're looking at the title and you're thinking, blimey, he's decided to up the ante. He's gone from 6 things to 10 things. But don't worry, 6 things we learn is very much still the series after every Chelsea game. But I thought after this weekend of football that we've just had, I realised quite quickly, it's just a little bit crazy right now, the footballing world. There's so much going on. There's results coming in that we probably wouldn't see with full stadiums. And I thought after every single match week in the Premier League, we could do 10 things we learned, where we look at all 10 matches that have happened in the Premier League. We talk about some of the key talking points, some of the key developments with certain teams, and obviously this season we're seeing Everton currently running away with the Premier League title, some would say and some would argue. So 10 things we learn is going to be our little look through after every single match week at all the games. So if there's something you want to see more of, hit the like button on today's video. Don't worry, there's still going to be a Chelsea news video today. Chelsea career mode is starting tomorrow. The first episode is going to be ready for you guys. I'm going to make it look good. It's going to be a very engaging series where I'm going to try not to get too far ahead of the series. And you guys can help me out with formations. Obviously, it's all to do with our Chelsea, so everything's going to be tied in to what is going on in the Chelsea world. Without any further ado, though, I want to ask you to subscribe to GBFC if you're new around here and haven't already done so. And I want you guys to be very aware that just because we're doing a couple of new things on the channel, it doesn't replace the regular stuff that would already be there. So for once, the international break actually gives me a good excuse to get involved with some other things in the footballing world. So let's start, of course, with our Chelsea. It was the first game of the weekend, 12:30 kickoff at home to Crystal Palace. First half, it was naff. But I think the main thing we learned about this Chelsea team in this game is that not only is there so much variety of players that can offer things. I mean, you look at Jorginho, he scored both of the penalties. When we're talking about Chelsea goal scorers this season, Jorginho wasn't really a name, other than for penalties, of course, and yes, he did score both goals from the spot. Jorginho wasn't a name that I was really thinking about this season as a player that could be more contributing towards this team. So I think the main thing that we learned about Chelsea's win this weekend against Crystal Palace is that despite all of the new players that have come in, we've still not seen Hakim Ziyech in the side, we've not seen a Timo Werner Premier League goal just yet. There is so much variety and versatility within this Chelsea team, and I think that despite the result against West Brom, despite the defeat against Spurs, that kind of made a lot of Chelsea fans lose their mind a little bit. Some could say it was more of a reality check, in my opinion, after seeing everything else that went on in the Premier League. And this is why this series will be good, because we can kind of compare certain teams' different positions and situations to other teams that are going to be competing for the same places as them. What we saw with Chelsea this weekend is that if we do manage to score a goal or two, the amount that we're going forward, the amount that we're attacking, the domination of the ball that we have with possession means that not only are Chelsea going to win a lot of games, we're going to score a lot of goals in the process. And it was a very, very comfortable victory this weekend for Chelsea, where you look at other teams struggling. This was the weekend that kind of brought us back into a position where it's like, you know what? The Premier League might still be quite an open book, you know? Liverpool, we're going to talk about them a little bit later. Nobody expects these kind of results. So as long as Chelsea, in the early stages of this season, before fans get back in stadiums, before football turns to the normal that we all love the most and the normal that we're all used to, I'm still not used to this whole Corona thing. But it was a very good performance from Chelsea. Jorginho gets his name on the score sheet. He doesn't move to Arsenal, which is something we're going to talk about in today's Chelsea news video. There's still a lot of different players, can offer a lot of different versatile attributes to this Chelsea team. Big 3 points. And we move into the next fixture. And the next fixture is, of course, the team that are currently propping up everybody else. No, they're not propping up everybody else. That means they're bottom of the table. The team that are currently 3 points ahead of anybody else, Carlo Ancelotti's Everton. When I looked at some of the signings that they've made, and again, tomorrow there's going to be a tier list video for all of the Premier League teams' transfer windows. I looked at the business. You look at the manager, you look at Carlo Ancelotti's acumen as a manager. Not only is he a Premier League champion, he's won Champions Leagues. The man has done it all in football. And whenever I saw that Everton signed Carlo Ancelotti, I remember thinking, this could be the manager, the good quality, proven manager, that this club that have been looking to try and challenge for the top 4, that have been spending a lot of money, but never fulfilling the potential and what people expected of them. This transfer window, and with football the way it is now, where a lot of other rival clubs haven't been able to strengthen due to financial reasons or just having owners that don't really know what they're doing and aren't there for the right reasons, Everton were a club this season that I did expect to do well. I said in my predictions, I thought they'd break the top 6. What we're currently seeing from Everton is not only a lot of class, but they're not just winning games by scoring a couple of goals. They're playing very good fluid football. And I think the main thing I learned from this is that Everton are really building game by game right now on the confidence that they're growing with when they're playing this good style of football. A lot of their players that were of a high level already, namely Richarlison is another one that's always been very good, and Everton have kind of been done well to keep hold of him, considering he probably should have been playing Champions League football or even Europa League football on a regular basis. Not only have Everton managed to keep hold of a lot of those players, they've added in James Rodriguez. 2 goals against Brighton, 4-2 victory. The way that he arrives in the box, the threat that he has from outside of the area, it's making Everton a very difficult team to defend against. It gives them a lot of dynamism in their attack. Defensively, they look pretty strong as well. There was a couple of scrappy goals that went in. Some days Jordan Pickford looks like he's one of the best goalkeepers in the league. The next day he drops it, and then Neil Maupay equalises for Brighton. But the mentality at Everton right now is being built around winning, and that all comes from the manager, the smart signings that they've made, and the way that the team is becoming cohesive in the early stages of this season. 12 points from a possible 12, top of the league. It's looking good for both Blues from the start of this video. Chelsea and Everton, good wins for them. And we move into match number 3, and this one was exciting as well. Leeds United, Bielsa versus Manchester City and Pep Guardiola. Very good goal from Raheem Sterling to give Manchester City the lead. Leeds always looked involved in this game. Not only do they defend very well, but when they go forward, they attack with a lot of pace, and there's a lot of really nice things that I've seen in the early stages of this season from Leeds United. It's the kind of result that proves that a lot of newly promoted clubs, they often get wins against one another and manage to stay up, and then sometimes the big boys come into town and they get swept aside, and you really see the gulf in class between a promoted side and a Manchester City who have been at the top now for quite some time. Leeds United are going to cause a lot of big teams some problems this season. They're very well tactically drilled. Bielsa's one of the most exciting managers in the Premier League. There's a lot of mutual respect between both Leeds United, Man City, between those two managers. And this was a very, very good game. It wasn't one of the highest scoring games of the weekend, but it proved to me that Leeds United are going to be there, probably in the top half of the table this season, if they carry on playing the way they're playing so far. Now, match number 4 was Newcastle 3, Burnley 1. It's not been a very good start to the season for Burnley. They're often a side where I say they overachieve, and maybe from what we've seen in the early stages of this season, it could be a tricky one for them this year. Newcastle, after all of the chaos that went on and the promises of investment in takeovers, Newcastle are going to go out and spend flipping hundreds of millions. The takeover fell through, and I remember watching True Geordie's video. I remember listening to other Newcastle fans saying, this is it, we're going to go straight back down this season. I know it's still early stages, but from what I've seen of Newcastle so far, they're looking very good. They look like they're very well organised. They've still got Steve Bruce as the manager, which, again, a lot of Newcastle fans weren't too convinced about that one. They were linked to Pochettino. There was a lot of excitement in the early stages of the season around Newcastle United, and then when the season began and everything had actually gone through, they realised that maybe they weren't going to be able to spend hundreds of millions, but they've invested in Callum Wilson, who is a proven Premier League goal scorer, and playing alongside Alan Saint-Maximin, who is one of the best wingers on his day in the Premier League for some of the smaller teams. I'm not trying to compare him to a Christian Pulisic or a Sadio Mane. Maximin's a very, very good winger. You add into that a goal scorer and someone who actually knows where the goal is, not like Joe Linton. And Newcastle are looking rather decent. It's another 3 points for them. They made a good start to the season. Burnley, worries. They're struggling. Now, match number 5 is Leicester 0, West Ham United 3. And this, to be honest, was the first result where I started to think, you know what, maybe I should do like a Premier League roundup series. And then I thought 10 games, 10 things we learned. Easy. Thumbs up, tick the box. West Ham versus Leicester, this was a very unexpected result. West Ham managed a 4-0 win last weekend, and I thought, oh, that's a little bit of a surprise. They've not started the season well. There's a lot of issues, I think, within the club, and then all of a sudden, David Moyes isn't on the bench, and West Ham start to perform again. I mean, I don't know if it's a coincidence. I don't just want to write David Moyes off. If West Ham have a good season, I'll sit here looking like a mug, which you guys already know I don't really care if I look like a mug, to be honest. But West Ham were very, very good. Bowen, the striker, is a very, very good finisher. And it looks to me as though he's playing with a lot of confidence right now. As for Leicester City, I did not see this result coming at all. They've made a very good start to the season. They're scoring a lot of goals. And the biggest thing in this one wasn't the fact that, yeah, okay, they didn't score, but they looked at 6s and 7s at the back. Every time West Ham went forward, Leicester players are kind of like looking around at one another thinking, you know, like none of us are in position. And it looks to me as though Leicester could be one of those sides this season who will definitely score a load of goals, but they're going to ship in a lot as well with the defensive structure that doesn't seem to be playing right for them at this moment. Very, very good result for West Ham United. I think a lot of the games this weekend where the bigger teams lost and the smaller teams won, not only was it all away from home, but the onus in terms of the analysis has always been on the teams that were doing well before just didn't defend very well, and less so praising the attack of the opposition. And I thought West Ham were very good. They looked potent going forward, and maybe it's something with those last two results they can build on to actually have a decent season. Match number 6, Southampton 2, West Brom 0. This is one of the only games in the Premier League this weekend where it was actually a result that I anticipated. I don't think West Brom are good enough this season for the Premier League. They've not made a very good start. They've lost every match that they've played. Southampton, very good manager. They look very well drilled and they looked organised compared to the middle of last season. You remember the start of last season, Southampton looked like they were going to be dead and buried come the end of the season. Hassan Hutel comes in. They become a much more difficult team to beat. They've obviously got a great striker in Danny Ings. Gineppo as well, who scored the first goal. We've seen a couple of good goals from him in the Premier League. The nice little turn, finishing it as well to the goalkeeper's left side. Southampton looked like a decent side. I said at the beginning of the season in my Premier League predictions, if you want to go and rewatch that one, I'll leave a link in the description. I said they're going to be a top half team this season. It's another good 3 points. Clean sheet at home. It's time for them now to start building some momentum. Match number 7 is Arsenal 2, Sheffield United 1. Start by talking about the away side. Sheffield United, I remember watching the kickoff and I saw Mr. Rory Jennings, a good friend of mine, come out and say Sheffield United will get relegated this season. It's still very early, and probably too early to say that he was right because we've got 34 games in the Premier League season to go. We're not seeing the same kind of stability and structure defensively from Sheffield United this season. They didn't do badly against Arsenal. They played quite well. It's probably one of the better performances I've seen from them so far this season in the first 4 games. One of the key things for Sheffield United last season, and the reason they built so many points early in the season, was Bramall Lane and that influence they had. They have a very loud home crowd. And I think with Corona and all of this stuff going on, they might struggle this season, and we're seeing that in the early stages. They're in the bottom 3, they're yet to pick up any points, and it's not looking good. Whereas for Arsenal, this was the kind of game in recent seasons where they wouldn't look as though they had the ideas to go ahead and actually score the goals. Pepe scores a very nice finish, and then Saka as well with the first goal from the header. They've now just gone ahead and bought Thomas Partey, who was the defensive midfielder they need after Guendouzi goes out on loan to Hertha Berlin and wasn't really fulfilling that kind of potential that Arsenal fans were hyping him up to be. Good win for Arsenal again. They've made a good start to the season. Their only defeat so far coming away at the champions. Good result for Arsenal. The Arteta train after that FA Cup win last season against us, which I don't want to spend too much time talking about. The Arteta train is moving, and they're moving into the gears now. Considering all the other results in the Premier League and the fact that Everton are the only team that have still got a 100% record, that's a lie. Aston Villa do too. We'll get into that one in a moment. Things are looking good for Arsenal. It's not a comfortable home win, but it's the kind of game where in previous seasons they'd have dropped points, but now they're getting 3. Now, match number 8 wasn't the most entertaining match of the weekend, but yet again, Wolves keep a clean sheet. They get another 3 points. It's not been the best start to the season for Wolves in their new Portuguese side, and spending a lot of money on some good players. They beat Fulham 1-0. Obviously, I'm going to be keeping a very close eye now on Fulham's results this season after our man Ruben has gone out on loan for the rest of the season to the other part of West London, Craven Cottage. Fulham are still looking for their first points. They're definitely going to struggle, whereas Wolves, they're struggling to get into the same kind of performance momentum that they were in last season. I'm not seeing the same level of football that we saw from Wolves last season, but with a side like Wolves, we know that if they're not playing well, they still manage to pick up 3 points. It's a good sign for when they do start to get into form. So Wolves win 1-0, and we move into the final 2 matches of the weekend, which were the real reasons why I decided to start this series. The first one, Manchester United 1, Spurs 6. When you look at the way Spurs played in the Europa League, free-flowing attacking football, not something that we are used to seeing from Jose Mourinho. This was like a classic, it's one of those wink moments from Mourinho where it's like, I told you so, I'm going to be back and I'm going to be big again. Tottenham are looking so good going forward. When I look at the best performances so far this season in the Premier League, now that Heung-min Son is back in the side and Harry Kane, who, I don't want to spend all day praising Spurs players, but this is kind of a neutral series now. Spurs are looking very good, and obviously they've brought in Gareth Bale as well. That's going to bolster that attack some more. We've seen Lucas Moura over the past couple of seasons, a very useful player. But Son and Harry Kane could be that partnership this season. If Spurs are going to get into the top 4 and challenge, between those two, the amount of goals and assists they're going to get, the chemistry they have together, their finishing ability together, it's actually quite frightening. And Spurs, despite Manchester United's dreadful defending, Harry Maguire, I've not seen a bigger fraud in football than the price tag of that man right now. He was shambolic. There were times when he looked like he was playing left back and the left back was playing centre back. United were at 6s and 7s. You see the frustration of Bruno Fernandes, who's one of their best players. They've brought in Donny van der Beek. They missed out on Jadon Sancho, and maybe he comes to Chelsea next summer. That's just going to annoy some people. But United are all over the place. They've just gone out and spent a load of money on a load of youngsters as well on deadline day. It does shout panic to me. United are going to struggle, I think. I thought they'd be in the top 4 come the end of this season. Spurs are building a lot of momentum, and I think this game is one where Tottenham really did put a stamp down as having one of the best attacks in the Premier League, and they're going to be difficult to beat, as Mourinho's sides always are. Still can't quite believe it was 6-1. I must have mentioned the red cards. It probably wasn't a red card, and if it was a red card, then it should have been 2 red cards, leaving the game 10 versus 10. Spurs made the extra man count. They go to Old Trafford and score 6. Mind-blowing scoreline, but the most mind-blowing thing of the Premier League weekend was the absolute brilliance of Aston Villa as they sweep aside the Premier League champions 7-2 at Villa Park. There's nobody in the world that could have actually said, you know what, I think Aston Villa are going to win this one by an absolute margin. No one was going to be saying that with any genuine confidence at the beginning of the game. You look at the players that Liverpool were missing. I don't want to spend too much time talking about what wasn't right with Liverpool. I do want to spend more time focused on what was great about Aston Villa. No Sadio Mane, no Fabinho, no Alisson. And I think what you've seen with those 3 players that Liverpool were missing, Sadio Mane is so key to the Liverpool press. Everyone talks about the goals of Mohamed Salah. Not only does Mane contribute with the goals and assists in a big way, but the way that he is so key to always being at the feet of the ankles of the players who have the ball for the opposition team, trying to force Liverpool to get the ball back. When he's not in the side, I don't see the same tenacity from a lot of their players that Sadio Mane brings this team. But on the flip side of that coin, there's a lot of Premier League teams that don't have the quality to be able to hurt Liverpool when they're missing some of their key players. But what Aston Villa established before this game is that if they did get at this Liverpool team, try and put the balls over the top towards Ollie Watkins, who scored some wonderful goals and announced his name in the Premier League scene with a hat-trick against the champions, it doesn't really get any bigger and better than that. Aston Villa looked fantastic. Ross Barkley, of course, he's just come on loan from our Chelsea. He loves a goal against Liverpool. Yes, there was a lot of deflections, and luck was certainly on Aston Villa's side in that case. But they created the opportunities, they got themselves into the positions, and not only was Ross Barkley very good, but there was a wonderful performance again from Jack Grealish, a man who Aston Villa have done incredibly well to keep hold of. They've done some brilliant smart business this summer. Everyone's talking about Chelsea's transfer window and we've broken this record and we've done that, we bought this guy, bought that guy. Aston Villa have had probably as good of a transfer window as anyone in world football, European football this summer. They've bought in very well. They've bought in a striker who was doing it in the Championship, and you can never guarantee the crossover between goals in the Championship to goals in the Premier League. Not only is that one looking good, they've kept hold of Jack Grealish too. They're looking pretty good defensively. Liverpool did score twice, but the whole performance from Aston Villa was just perfect. They scored 7 goals against the champions, shocked the footballing world. This weekend has been probably one of the most exciting in Premier League history. Definitely the Sunday games will go down as one of the best days ever. And I've really enjoyed taking a look at some of the other results. We can take a look at the table now on you guys' screen. It's been an incredible weekend of football. Obviously, we're not getting any Premier League football back for another 11 days, which sucks a little bit, but it is what it is. If you guys did enjoy this, something a little bit different, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. what your favourite moment of this Premier League weekend was. If you're not a Chelsea fan, which I know like 95% of us here on the GBFC channel are, let me know how you think your team's early season form is going to shape the rest of your season. Subscribe to GBFC if you're new, and stay tuned. Later on today, got a brand new Chelsea FC news video rounding up the transfer window. It's going to be a big week. I've got double uploads for the rest of the week. Sorry I didn't post yesterday. It was just with deadline day and the Chelsea news video I made. I was kind of disappointed with it because I didn't know what was going to happen. There was a lot of outgoings yesterday. There was still talks of maybe bringing in a player. It didn't happen. We're going to round up the transfer window later. Going to be ranking all of the team's transfer windows in tomorrow's video. Onwards and upwards on GBFC. Hope you have a great day. See you all later. Bye-bye.